the things that I cannot change, and not just be able to accept it, to be able to accept it with grace, not grudgingly. The fine, all right, I surrender. Because it doesn't feel that way sometimes. It's like, okay, our spiritual part goes, okay, no, we need to be in our good accepting place. But on the inside, we are the stomping, 5-year-old going, no, 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 no. Okay. And yeah, Creator, God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, God, Goddess, however you hold that, they understand, they get it. They know what's in our hearts better than we do. And that consciousness realizes that sometimes life really sucks, and it's not fair. And it's really hard to go into that place of trust, and even harder to go into the place of faith, because actually there is sort of a difference between the two. Trust, as our friend Webster says, is an assured reliance on the character, on the strength, on the integrity, and on the truthfulness of a person, place, or thing. Faith is the belief in that, and a strong belief in that cannot be proven. We learn to trust generally based on what the life experience is. I trust that I will be able to drive safely from my home up in Boulder Creek down here to my office each and every day, because I have done so for, almost 2 years now.
That long? Wow.
That long.
Wow.
Yes. Well, in September it'll be 2 years.
Wow. Oh.
Now, is it guaranteed that nothing is going to happen?
Not with your car.
No, not with my car. But I also have faith. Nobody can prove that I'm going to drive that road safely, yet I believe and have faith that I will. But that faith goes to the next step, that if I don't, then that's the way it was meant to be. I find that, especially, lately, there's been so much, in the news, there's been so much that has gone on that really challenges, the faith piece, because part of faith is you are willing to live without the answer to the question why. And generally the answer to that is because.
That's what my mother would say.
And that's where the period falls. It's like, because. Why do people have to be sick? Because. Why does there have to be cruel and mean-spirited people in the world to do cruel and mean-spirited things? Because.
But why?
And why? Yes, wine starts with why.
Yes, I noticed that in the office.
Was the saying call 911 and get a wambulance?
Maybe that was on Facebook.
Yes, it was on Facebook.
I think I liked it.
So the idea is that, and it is our nature to want to know why. The need to know why has created all kinds of wonderful things. It's allowed humanity to move forward. Wow, we're sitting here in the cold. Why should we sit here in the cold? Isn't there a way we can make fire? Well, yes, let's do that, and then we can be warm. Why do we have to deal with, a certain segment of society being treated like less? That's a very good question.
Yes.
And after the why comes, well, we shouldn't. Let's change things. Let's end slavery. Let's give women the right to vote. Let us allow people to marry who they love.
Yay! Woo! Well, you've already done
Which is very cool. When we are able to move out of the place of trust, and trust is a beautiful, wonderful thing. But when we can take that step beyond trust and go into faith, and accept, you know what? I don't know why this is happening, and I will believe and accept that there is a greater consciousness guiding this. That there's something out there that is having me go through this, or my loved one go through this, for a reason. My mother, who I always refer to as the world's most adorable Catholic, every Catholic should be a Catholic, like my mother. Oh, the Pope, my mother would have made an excellent Pope. Although I don't think she would have worn the Prada shoes. But she always told me, ever since I was a little girl, that God answers prayers in 3 ways. First, no. Because what you're asking for is not what's meant to be. But I've got something so much better in mind that you can't even conceive of. The second way is, not now. Because I know you're in a hard place. But there is still a gift in this for you. There's something for you to grow with. So just be patient, because it will come. And the third way God answers prayers is, I thought you'd never ask. And growing up with that helped me to kind of put into perspective the things that were happening in my life that really were tremendously hard, were tremendously painful. You know, I adore, your poem, Gloria, because it reminded me so much of, those last days with my mother. And watching the world's most amazing, wonderful Catholic lose her faith. The pain, the fear, as she struggled through her last days with cancer. And yes, she reached a point where she said, I've prayed. I've spent my life being really good. I've done everything I could, and I prayed that this would pass me by. My husband was taken from me. My daughter was taken from me. I was owed this one. And she lost faith. She forgot the 3 ways that God answers prayers. And I sat with her, and I just held her hand, and I didn't know what to say. So I just sat with her, and I prayed. I said, okay, God, I'm guessing that this is one of those no, because this was not meant to be, with a little bit of not yet, because I got something, there's something beyond this. And I prayed that she would be able to see what it was that she needed to see so she could move past her fear, so she could move back into her place of faith. Because for me, I knew that's where she needed to be when she went. So I prayed for that. And as I was holding her hand, she squeezed my hand, and she said, I just heard your Father's voice. And I said, well, what did he say? And she just smiled and she said, well, that's just for me. But she relaxed. And she went into that place of, and often when people, especially elders, are going through a phase of illness, it goes into that place where just for a few days, they're almost radiant. Has anybody ever seen someone who is passing, and it seems like all of a sudden, as if, their skin looks wonderful and their hair is beautiful,
That's
and there's
Virginia.
a radiance. Those who were around Virginia during that last time.
Totally Virginia.
And then it's almost as if something shifts, and then they go back into, the physical self, and it gets sunken in and all that. But there's that phase of radiance. And I know for my mother, that was when she got it. That was when she understood. That was when she accepted that she never lost faith. The only thing I could think to tell her when she was saying that was, Mom, I don't think that you lost your faith, because if you did, you wouldn't be worrying about it. If you're worried about whether or not you've lost faith, you haven't. Now, there is a complaint department, I do believe. And there's a window, and there's, it's like, okay, it's like, you know what, I've got a complaint. I've got a few complaints. And I honestly believe that when each and every person leaves this world, they get to go to the complaint window. And it's like, I get it, thank you for the wonderful life. And it's like, all right, go ahead. Yeah, no, we got that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that dress that, got ruined right before the party. Yeah, we got that one. Just to get it out of your system. Then you can go and it's like, okay, welcome in. And it's like, all right. It is a way of living to be able to live and walk in the knowledge that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. That is a way. There are those who choose to spend their lives walking around waiting for the other shoe to fall. Knowing that something, they have absolute faith, and the faith is that something really bad is going to happen. And we all know at least one person like that. It's like no matter what, it's like, wow, isn't this a great day? Yeah, but we're in a drought and it's going to be horrible. Or, wow, isn't the rain wonderful? This mudslide's going to happen and it's going to wipe out the roads. It's like, wow, really? Really? So, but they do have absolute faith. It's like, okay, if you're going to commit yourself to something, be wholehearted in it. And I guess somehow that balances those like horribly cheerful people that you just want to choke every once in a while. Not badly, but just a little bit. We learn to accept that what is because it is. Because there is, my mom used to call it the big book. And she said everything was in the big book. And she'd say, I don't know what's in the big book, but I know the big book is there, and I know it's going to, it's got everything written down. And there are some who believe, well, if you believe in destiny, where does that leave choice? Like, well, how do you know your choice wasn't a part of the destiny? It gets confusing and it makes my head hurt after a while. It's a lot easier to just go, stuff happens. So, as we think about, those parts of our lives that we have to rely on faith, whether we want to or not. Those times when it gets hard, when we don't have the answer. It's hard enough dealing with our own shaky faith, but dealing with the faith of somebody else. What do you say to someone who is in that really hard place? Sometimes the best thing to say is nothing. Sometimes the best thing to do is ask questions.
Yes.
Wow, I am so sorry you're going through this. Can you tell me about what's going on? And if they can't, just say, well, I don't understand exactly what you're going through, but I'm here with you. And I'm going to be here as long as you need me. And if you need me to get you a cup of tea, or if you need me to just sit here, I'm there. So whatever you need, you don't have to explain it. Because sometimes you can't. Have you ever been down in a way that you really don't know why? But you're just in that really dark, hard place. It's like, well, what's going on? I don't know. And that is the God's honest truth. We all have those times. We all have those spaces, whether it's something that we can, whether it's a loss, a recent loss, an imminent loss, uncertainty about finances, uncertainty about jobs, uncertainty about relationships. Am I ever going to find somebody in my life? How am I going to work through these financial difficulties I have? And it can get really overwhelming. And sometimes you reach that place where I can't, I got nothing. I got nothing. And actually there's a special gift in that space. I've been there myself. And there's a point when you really acknowledge, I've got nothing. I don't know how to make this better. And at a time in my life when that was happening. And I just reached a breaking point. And there was a song that had just become popular, and it immediately came into my head. Now, like I said, it's like everybody has, however you name the consciousness is up to you, so just insert it. Jesus, take the wheel. Take it from my hands, because I can't do this on my own. I'm letting go. So give me one more chance. Save me from this road I'm on. That brings up a lot of emotion, because I go back to the moment when I made my complete surrender. I had all this stuff I was doing, and being Dr. Ayleen and taking care of things and handling stuff and being there for everybody and being everybody's cheerleader, which I took on. Nobody asked me to do that. For those of us who are the recovering cheerleading addicts, it's like, okay, nobody asked you to do it. You decided to do it. They like it when you do it. And there are those who will encourage you to do it. But nobody told you, and nobody told me. And I felt I had to be this person who was positive and up and cheerful and serene and, kind and courteous and whatever, all the scout oath stuff.
Thrifty.
Yeah, thrifty, yes. It's kind of like naming the dwarves. Naming the 7 dwarves. As opposed to the 7, as opposed to the 13 in Lord of the Rings, but that's a whole different thing. So, I was, taking my morning shower, and all of a sudden it hit me like a wall. And I was thinking about all the things and, like financial issues and my marriage ending and all this other stuff. And stuff I wanted desperately to be able to control, but I couldn't. And I started to cry. I crumpled to the bottom of my shower, and I laid there as the water washed over me and sobbed. I mean, those racking, can't get a breath sobs. And in that moment, I said, I cannot do this. I need help. I need help from a place that is the only place that I know to deal with things on this big a scale. And in that moment, I found peace. It was like this weight had been taken off of me. And I remembered my mother had, and many of you have, a God jar. Now, if you don't know what a God jar is a container that, and it's important you can't see into it. That when something happens, you write it down, you put it in there, and that means you've given it to God. Somebody gave me this thing, it was an ornament thing, and this became my God jar.
I love her.
And I would, because Christmas was all about gifts. So it's like, okay, well this represents me getting a gift, and my gift is I get to give what's bothering me to someone else who is much more able to handle it than I am.
I don't want it.
And I'd fill it up, and then I'd burn what was in it, and then I'd fill it up again, and sometimes I was putting slips of paper in there like 4 or 5 times a day. And it would be the same thing, but it's like, well, it's not fixed yet. It's 2 o'clock. I put it in at 1:30, and you didn't fix it, so here it is at 2. Yeah,
Just a gentle
I kind of felt like the little kid is like, Mommy, Mommy, can I have the toy? Mommy, Mommy, can I have the toy? 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 Stop! I heard you the first time. And sometimes I wonder if God sometimes goes, it's like, look, I heard you the first time. It's okay.
I'll get to it.
I'll get to it. You can have the cookie later. After a while, I noticed I was only putting something in there once a day. Then maybe, once every couple of days. And, and I keep it with me at work. And I noticed that really I haven't put anything in there in months. Does that mean that I haven't had problems that were like, whoa, really? Seriously, universe? I've had stuff that hit me. It's just I already knew that as soon as I thought about it, it's like, okay, God, we're in this together. You and me. And, I'm worried. I'm scared. I know that's just on me, and I know it's not that you're not going to help me out, because you always have. Every single thing, and I'm sure there are people here with all kinds of stories about how they almost died, or maybe they did die, or, something could have gone really badly, but it didn't. That's the one that went into the God jar without us even thinking about it. And then I realized this is a two-way thing. God and I are in partnership. God has an Ayleen jar. And every once in a while, God will put something in the Ayleen jar.
Ain't gotta choose and not mine.
Yeah. Hey, everybody here's got a jar. Okay? Count on it. Now maybe what went into the Ayleen jar was lighten up. Because when you lighten up, you help other people lighten up. Maybe it's, hey, you need to call this person. Have you ever gotten this thing where you suddenly need to call somebody? That is God putting something in your jar. Man, I need to turn right instead of left on this street, and you turn right and there's somebody whose car's broken down. That's God putting something in your jar. And one of the pieces of finding acceptance with the universe and finding acceptance with the stuff that happens to us is the fact that we're participants, that we have a piece in it. We're working in partnership with God. We have our stuff to do too. God asks me a favor, it's like, hey, what do you need? I got your back. Isn't it wonderful to say, I've got God's back? Everybody say, I've got God's back. Because God needs us. I would imagine it's a very big job being God. It's like being Santa. God help. That's actually what I was told when I was little, was, when we found all the presents that my parents had gotten, they said, well, no, there's still a Santa Claus, it's just, it's a big job, so Santa needs help. So we are Santa's helpers, which I figured, well, that explains why both my parents are short. They're elves. That's so cool. My parents are elves. So we have our jobs to do, and we share that. There's a TV show called Mom, and while generally it is, it's like, okay, it's like most of the other evening, kind of raunchy type of television, there was an episode that was actually very cool. The story is about a mother and daughter, and they're both in recovery, addiction recovery. And they go to their AA meetings and all that, and the mother's this cranky, cantankerous person. And she experienced a big loss in her life. The love of her life died. And then she hurt herself and got painkillers and became addicted to the pain medications. And she just completely, went back into the lifestyle, and then, her family and her friends and, her supporters got her to stop. And so she was going through withdrawals. And she's laying in her room, in her bed, and she's, obviously hallucinating, and she sees the personification of her addiction. And, and it's her, and she's wearing this leather, outfit. It's like, hey, come on, it's like, what the heck is so great about sobriety? And, we're going to go and we're numb. We don't have to feel anything, and we have money in our pockets. Well, then the personification of her sobriety was there, and she was dressed like Glinda the Good Witch, complete with wand.
Yes.
And it's like, no, we must keep our path, and we don't want to disappoint anyone, and we're going to be a better person. And so here she is, she's caught between these two. And then suddenly Jesus walks into the room and says, okay, he actually came out of the bathroom.
Yes, he did.
So he's like, where have you been? So he tells the other two to leave. And it's like, okay, you two out. And sobriety's like, well, why do I have to leave? I'm the good one. And he sat on the bed next to her and he pulled her into his arms. And he whispered very gently, we've got this. And for me, that was so powerful, because how many times would we just love somebody to hold us and to say, we've got this. That is faith. That is knowing that no matter what, there is somebody there, however you call them, to tell you, it's okay, we've got this, you're gonna be all right. As we have people come into and out of our lives, believe me, practice does not make it easier. And knowing in my heart that there are those who surround me each and every moment. My mother, my father, and my sister are all there with me. Sometimes I smell my dad's aftershave. It was Aramis.
Yum. Oh, yum.
Sometimes for no reason I'll smell fried chicken. And that's my mom.
Wow.
And for some reason I will feel like, it's like somebody like poking at me. That would be my sister. We all end up moving through life and leaving it. From the day we're born, that's the pattern. But the leaving part is not a punishment, it's a promise. It's a promise that was kept. The day we left wherever we were before we were here, we were told, you know what? There's some stuff you need to learn, and there's stuff you're going to help me with. And then you get to come home. And then, maybe you go and learn some more stuff. But either way, you'll always be with me, I'll always be with you, and we've got this. So I'd like to close once again with the serenity prayer. God grant me, please join me, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, and, if I may add, the faith to always remember that we've got this. Thank you.